Hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you about this week's work, which is the Choose Your Own Adventure Sketchbook menu. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be making a choice menu. Sometimes when you look at your sketchbook, you just don't know what to draw. We're going to create a menu that will make it easy to choose a good idea quickly. If used correctly, it will also keep you exploring new ideas. Making your menu. You are going to need to print out a blank menu, a blank Choose Your Own Adventure menu. If you don't have access to that, to a printer, you can open up the doc and look at it and copy the words, copy the text into your sketchbook by hand. We're going to be adding to these menus today. Your job is to complete your menu after we get off of our Zoom meeting. I would say, like, for the purpose of today, if you're not going to write everything that we talk about directly into your menu and you want to kind of have an in-between stage, it would be a really good idea to have out just an open sketchbook. We're also going to go over a couple of vocabulary words today. And of course, you can access these in your in this PowerPoint at any time, but it is, in my experience, a lot easier to go ahead and note down important terms in your sketchbook so you have them at hand whenever you need to refer to them. So have something out to write with. Have your menu out if you've got it. If you're not going to write directly into your menu, have your sketchbook handy so that you can write down notes from these different categories and of your vocabulary terms so that you can complete your menu when we conclude the Zoom meeting. So there are going to be some rules to the sketchbook. So it's not going to be just kind of choosing whatever you want to draw at any time. You do get a lot of choice, but you do have to use the structure of the menu. And there's some general rules for the sketchbook. Sketchbook entries should activate the whole page. That means you're not turning in something that has like a tiny drawing in the middle of the page. The whole page is activated. That doesn't mean always there's going to be marks all over the whole page, but you consider the whole space and used it in some way. Okay. The second thing is that the sketchbook entry should take a minimum of 45 minutes to complete. These are serious explorations. They are not quick doodles. Okay. So I will be expecting to see a lot of investment from you. There are going to be menu choices at the bottom. You guys are going to be making choices about what to draw using the menu. I do want you to note the menu choices at the bottom of your sketchbook pages. So at the bottom of the sketchbook page, whatever prompt you created for yourself to create the drawing, you would note it at the bottom of the page, just write it in. I also am going to want you to please fill out the menu that we're going to work on today and either tape or glue it into your sketchbook for further use. We're going to put a lot of things in it today, but no, guys, you know, you're going to keep on learning about art this whole semester and hopefully your whole lives. So you can always add more to your menu. If you need another page, sometimes, you know, it's okay to just add another page and let it fold out and keep on adding to your list. Sometimes I do that when I run out of space in my sketchbook. So the goal in making these menus is to practice and plan in our sketchbooks, to experiment in our sketchbooks, to level up your art skills through practice. How to use it. After you've filled in the categories on the menu, you're going to combine 3 or more choices from different categories to make a drawing. And I encourage you to try a different combination each time. I'm not sure, maybe somebody out there is very mathematically savvy and could like figure out how many possible combinations there are here of categories. I should say there are quite a lot. So try something new each time. So the categories of this menu are, it's going to be like a menu at a restaurant. There's sandwiches, there's salads, there's lots of different things that you can choose from. These categories are going to be kind of topics that you can use to inform your drawings. So the first category is elements. We've already studied the elements and principles, and you guys know that the elements are the basic building blocks of art. With the principles, we're dealing with how artists organize and design their artwork. So what they do with those basic building blocks. Mediums, when we talk about medium, we mean what is the art made from? What materials compose it? When we say subjects as a category, that is what the art is about. Styles are shared characteristics common in artworks that were made at a particular moment in history. They could also be regional or specific to a particular type of work. Sometimes when I say moments in history, particular moments in history, you hear the word movement in art, or the idea of an ism. There are historical movements or moments in art that have shared stylistic characteristics. So, but certainly you could say regions are going to have specific styles, characteristic to them at different times. We might, for instance, look at a particular era of ancient Egyptian art, and it would share stylistic similarities. When I say specific to a particular type of work, I mean, like, for instance, within the art of tattoo, there are particular styles of tattoos that we could refer to and understand because of their shared characteristics. The last category we've got is artists. So, of course, these are the people that make artwork. And hopefully your list of all of these things will grow as you continue to learn about art. All right, so let's start with the elements. So who can name an element of art for me? Okay, that's right. The elements are line, shape, form, value, color, texture, and space. So we learned about these last week. Elements are the basic building blocks of art. So when you're working your sketchbook, you can say, I'm going to make a drawing that uses a lot of line. I'm going to make a drawing that uses color as a primary motivation for making the drawing. I mean, of course, when we're dealing with art, all of these things are going to be present in art. They are literally what makes up art. When you pick one of these as part of your sketchbook menu choices, you're really saying that you are going to put a heavy focus on that item. Okay, next thing is the principles. Principles are how artists organize and design their work. Who can name a principle for me? That's right. The principles are balance, movement, rhythm, contrast, pattern, unity, scale, and emphasis. And here's a couple more in this infographic. People sometimes name these slightly different. You'll notice if you study across several different sources for information on the principles of design, you sometimes get slightly different namings of the principles, or you get slightly different categories. But, just know these are the basic principles of art. Again, these are what the artist chooses to do with their, in terms of organization of their work. So if you were to choose contrast, for instance, as one of your sketchbook categories from your choice menu for a particular drawing, you would make contrast an important component of your drawing. Okay, what about mediums? We said that mediums are what art is made out of. How many art mediums can you name? Subjects. When we're dealing with subjects, we're dealing with what the artwork is about in the most broad sense. You can get really specific about what an artist's work is about in terms of subject matter. What I'm trying to get you to look at right here when we say subjects is just in the most broad terms what the artwork is about. So we might say that this is a portrait in the center. We can certainly get more specific about what the artist's intent was and what he was communicating about the subject. But for the sake of what we're talking about now, I want you to think, portrait, is a particular subject. So depictions of people. We might call this photograph over here a landscape. So it's a depiction of land. You might say like, not all landscapes are natural kind of environments like this. You might see a cityscape. There are all manner of scapes you might see. But the landscape is typically focusing on the environment. I guess the world. Below, there's a picture of a sculpture of Buddha. So historically, artwork, is often taken religious themes. Whoever typically had, a lot of money and influence kind of determined, I guess in the old days, sort of what kind of artwork was made. Various churches had lots of money that they could commission artworks out of. We see a lot of this, for instance, in the Renaissance in Italy, many beautiful artworks being made for the church. Monarchy often historically had a lot of money and the ability to commission artists to make work. So we do see, in addition to like religious subject matter, especially with older artwork, we might see like portraits of people in power. We might also see famous historical events depicted. Those are all subjects. Over here, we've got a whale. So artwork might depict animals or other elements of natural life. I wanted you guys to see this one, especially in the upper right. Sometimes when we look at something, it has things like pattern and light and color, as this photograph definitely does, but it doesn't depict something that we can necessarily name. What might you call something like that? One way to describe it is abstract. So abstract work, the subject of abstract work is really what the artist has done with the elements and principles and the materials that it's made with. There's nothing necessarily recognizable in the artwork. We've got, I guess, to be fair, we have varying degrees of abstraction in artwork. Something might be stylized like a cartoon, and that's a level of abstraction, so kind of removal from reality. But we still know kind of what the artist was referring to. But there's other things like this that we might call non-representationally abstract. I think, just in general, I think people would understand what you meant if you were to call a piece like this abstract. Styles and movements. So these are little thumbnails that show some historical styles and movements of art. All throughout history, like historians look back on art that was made at different times, and they look at similar choices artists were making and try to find trends and gather these different artists together so that we can talk about them along a sort of timeline of development. So if you've ever heard, in art, like the idea of like ism or, movement, that's what we're talking about within styles. So these artists typically shared some sort of stylistic similarity, some sort of similar way that they use materials or they thought about their subject. You know, all artists are individuals, but, you know, just this is really about, you know, the way that historians kind of look at the art world and create categories to make sense of trends that they see over time, and to kind of turn art, you know, into a narrative that we can read as viewers and appreciate. So just a few that are here. This to me looks like a little Jackson Pollock, little piece of a Jackson Pollock painting. So abstract expressionism. We've got a little Vitruvian Man snippet from Leonardo da Vinci here. So maybe we're looking at the Renaissance here. I'm not sure which artist this particular image comes from, because a lot of the artists in this movement look similar, but Cubism is what we're looking at here. And then we've got a famous work of Dada art here. We have, you know, amongst the group, we've got some other modern movements like pop art that you might recognize, or surrealism here that you might recognize. We've got a little post-impressionism here with Cezanne as well. Well, actually, I might be wrong on that. So Cezanne, I guess, would be more someone who influenced Cubism. And he actually influenced their Impressionists. So he would have been before Impressionism, so pre-Impressionist. Cezanne, kind of, I think everybody agrees, Cezanne is someone who kind of influenced a lot of people, but was in a world of his own. So he was kind of the father of many modern movements. Anyway, there are many movements to be aware of in modern art. Here are just a couple of resources you can check out. There's one from MoMA here, which is the Museum of Modern Art, and it breaks up their modern art collection into learning themes. So this in particular deals with modern art movements. If you're interested in some of the slightly older things, like, you know, the Renaissance and you know, Baroque art and things like that, that came before modern art, you can also look here. It's got some of the modern stuff in it as well, but it's got more of the older movements too. So as you're looking and exploring, those are great resources for you. Style can also be regional. So these are all Japanese woodcuts. Japanese woodcuts, you know, while each artist is different, they're going to share particular stylistic similarities. You're going to see black outlines. You're going to see soft, you know, modeled coloring. You're going to see certain themes that are depicted in Japanese art. So, you know, just being style can be about being connected regionally to other artists. So you see recurring themes or stylistic choices across works of art. So even within particular, I don't know, genres of art like cartooning, certain artists like will have their own styles. I would say, okay, so what we're looking at is we're looking at an Instagram challenge that is to create a work of art in different styles of cartoons. So with cartoons, you know, you're going to get certain stylistic similarities across many cartoons. Like you'll have bold colors and outlines around forms typically. But within that world of cartooning, if you break it down, there are going to be many styles represented within that world of cartoons. So we've got like this artist style, Adventure Time. Yes, I can see that. I've watched Adventure Time. The characters do look like that. They've got these little tiny eyes and little stick fingers. Steven Universe. Yes, that definitely looks like Steven Universe. Gravity Falls. Excellent. Even, let's see, we've got Disenchantment. Yeah, over here. Definitely Matt Groening is the same cartoonist that, you know, was responsible for The Simpsons. Like, this is his stylistic kind of bug-eyed, buck-tooth sort of characters that he's had all the way since before The Simpsons even. So you can see even within the genre of cartooning, you know, artists are going to have their own particular styles. Okay, so artists. You guys are going to experiment with art using the style of different artists. Pick some artists who seem interesting to you. Remember, you can keep adding to your menu. I've listed here just a couple different places you can go and look at big old lists of artists and see some of their artworks. A good resource for you to use there as well. So at this point, you know, we've gone over broadly what the categories are. What you're looking at now at your menu, you've got all these different categories, right? So you've got elements, principles, mediums, subjects, styles, and artists. The idea when you go and you create an idea for a sketchbook entry is that you are going to pick 3 or more choices from different categories. So I might make, for instance, if I'm choosing from elements, I might make a drawing that involves line. I might, for my medium, I might choose marker. For my subject, I might choose animals. So I could make a line drawing using markers of animals. I would still have to, you know, find a way to activate the whole space of my sketchbook page, and I would have to make sure that I spent 45 minutes on my drawing and really put in the effort that was required for a sketchbook entry like this. So, you know, I might be thoughtful about, you know, how do I want to use line? How do I want to use marker? Might I layer these animals up to create a drawing? So that's what you guys are going to be doing is today is finishing up your menu. And then for the rest of the week, you guys are going to be picking, well, you will make 3 drawings using the menu. So for each drawing, you've got to pick one thing from at least 3 categories, one thing from 3 categories to combine to make a drawing. All right. I will look forward to seeing what you come up with.